Hi teachers, this is week 5 of unit 2 of the middle school ENL standalone curriculum. This is day 4. So today the students will be submitting their Your Story, Our Story project. The lesson objectives for today are to participate in a variety of conversations with peers, to demonstrate independence in editing and publishing, and to demonstrate command of writing conventions. So the first thing that you'll do with your class is review what was covered in the previous lessons. So the family interviews and the immigration story. So they're going to get together their artifact, the photos of that artifact, what they've written about that artifact, their family interview recording, and the paragraph that they typed about their story. If you have been keeping track of their progress in a certain way, I know that it says right here, start a new document and rename it as Your Story, Our Story project. Please edit this in whatever way makes sense for the way that you've been covering this with your students. The most challenging thing here will be to help students through the actual submission process. So there may be a lot of screen sharing going on. There may be a lot of modeling going on, depending on what works best for your kids and how quickly they can navigate the submission page. So they're going to post their work on the Tenement Museum website with all of the following: the pictures or artifacts, the audio recording, and the text of the Your Story, Our Story project. So the purpose here is sharing your voice through this project is not just a celebration of your hard work and all of the learning that you have made. It is also a celebration of you and continuing the story of New York City. So today should really be a celebration for you and your students. They've undergone this large body of work. They may not have believed that they could read all of those readings and do all of that writing and do those recordings. But they did it. So make sure that you really celebrate this day during this lesson with your students. So just some quick disclaimers about submitting. So you want to check that you've submitted all parts of the project. So whether this is by student screen sharing with you, the categories and tags, that would be varied based on what the student's story was about, as well as the relationship to immigrant. We're going to go through all of these steps in just a moment together. And the yes or no to sharing it with the Tenement Museum website, so it can be shared more widely with a larger population. It is a trusted website. It is safe, so students can choose yes if they feel comfortable. And then lastly, accepting the terms of use, which is right there at the bottom. So I'm going to go through each step of the submission page. The link is right here. Let me point it out. So the link is right here. It is hyperlinked. So students have access to it as well as you teachers. So the first thing that they'll see is this. So add your story. So they'll write what the name of their object is and what the category of the object is. They'll choose from the drop-down menu. Whether it's something like food related, family related, anything like that. The next thing they'll see is images of their object. There doesn't have to be 4, but they will allow up to 4. So dragging and dropping the image is probably the best bet. So if you can tell students to save their items to their desktop and sort of have them there, so then maybe they can minimize their page, drag and drop. That's probably the easiest way to go. And then describing what the photo is of. Next up here is the family interview. So dragging and dropping the audio file, same thing. It would be the best case scenario for students to have that on the desktop of their computer so they can drag and drop it in here. They can also hit the browse button to choose the file. The next part is pasting in their stories, so the paragraphs that they wrote about their immigration experience. There are options for bolds and italics, so if they have a title that they want to bold or italicize, that's also possible. So possibly going over and reminding students where their stories are so they can have easy access to them, whether that's a Google Drive folder or their desktop. The next here is the tags, so what makes most sense for what their story is about, what place is important to their story or places are important to their story. So where did they come from? Where did their family go? The year of immigration that's being discussed. And then number 9 is relationship to immigrant. So this is a bit confusing, as many of us know. Children born to immigrants are often called first generation. In this context, they are referring to first generation as the immigrant themselves. For 1.5 generation as someone who arrived as a child, second generation, child of migrants, third generation, grandchild of migrants, and fourth generation, great-grandchild of migrants. So that's a slightly confusing piece, but have students pick whatever makes most sense for them for their own context. The next thing they'll write is their name, zip code, and email. If they feel more comfortable writing the zip code of the school instead, this is to put their story on the map. The email won't be shared. It's just for confirmation of their submission. The next items, 13 and 14, will decide whether or not their story can be published on the website. So this says here, your story, our story, occasionally shares stories more widely for educational purposes to connect to themes and time periods in a featured collection or with a partner institution's social media. So if students are comfortable with their stories being shared this way, they can hit yes. If they are not, they can hit no. The website is secure and it's safe, but it's up to your students' discretion whether or not they would like to share. Accepting the terms of use, but accepting the terms of use does not mean that their story will be shared. It's just accepting that they are submitting. So that is the submission process. Once your students do submit, you can look forward to these closing and connecting questions. So the discussion question here relates back to the essential question for the whole week and really the theme for the whole unit. Then the extending the learning, talking about sharing these projects with their families. And then connecting to the project. So which of their classmates' immigration stories that they find the most interesting. This lesson is also a great opportunity for students to share their work. Sharing their work is definitely an important part of this, so students can learn from each other. And yeah, how are they a continuing part of the story of New York City? So New York City is a city of immigrants. Our students are a big part of that story, so we want to once again, emphasize the celebration of this lesson, the celebration of this unit, and the celebration of our students. So I hope this helps, and I hope you get some wonderful stories and conversations with your students after completing this lesson, and that they feel super accomplished after submitting the project. Best of luck.